Wow, good morning and welcome to this edition of Dialogue Box. Despite the technical hitches we've been having, we are still moving on, we are marching on, and that is it. No matter what comes across our path, what matters is a resolution that we have what it takes to move forward and make progress. And that is what we also believe for our nation Nigeria, that despite the setbacks in different aspects and different sectors, we are making progress and moving forward. So this morning we are talking about funding infrastructure through internally generated revenue in Nigeria. We've been on the economy, talking about different ways of making the economy thrive better, and we have been analyzing the foreign debt profile, how it has been on a very high side, and even the foreign loans that the government has been accessing. For what reason are they really going for these loans? And in our program yesterday, we were able to see that most of these projects, or the infrastructural projects that they need to do, are the reasons behind the foreign loan, trying to access foreign loans from different countries. China has been the most prominent one for a while now. So with that, we have analysts that have said that no matter what, government should not access any form of loan to fund infrastructure. That if they are trying to get loan to invest into the economy and have yields and return on investment, is better than just getting loans to fund power projects, fund railway projects, and fund maybe road maintenance and the rest. And for that, we say yes, that's kudos, that's a very good point. So with that, we are looking at internally generated revenue. What else can the government do to fund infrastructure looking in-house? That's within the country. What more can they do? So we'll get our analysts to call in. So you can call us on 09052525107. You can also reach us on 08030887339. So we'll just go straight and say, okay, for now, we'll give you some background information. We know that infrastructure financing through different forms of internally generated revenue and public-private partnership can play an important role in addressing chronic deficiencies of infrastructural facilities in the Nigerian economy. In other words, just not the government alone, but the government can collaborate with different private sector organizations and companies in tackling or taking care of some of the infrastructural deficits across the economy. So how can these funding plans be effectively implemented without the government sourcing for more foreign loans? And talking about infrastructural projects, what more can the government do in maximizing internally generated revenue to see to it that most of these infrastructural projects have effectively they are carried out, they are carried out 100%, and there is no defect on any side. So we'll give you a little more background information. We have it that inadequate infrastructural facilities, it has been a major discouraging factor for foreign investors and different forms of investment, and it retards economic development. So traditional methods of financing infrastructure through budgetary provisions and execution by direct contract award has proven to be inadequate and most often unimplemented, creating a financing gap for execution of infrastructural projects in developing countries, Nigeria inclusive. So on this edition of Dialogue Boss, you can talk with us, talk to us. Public-private partnership, how can this be fully maximized? So see to it that government can, like we said earlier, fully collaborate with these private sector organizations and companies in financing these infrastructural projects, and what will be in it for them. Then we also have it that to enhance internal revenue generations, or rather generation strategies such as the establishment of a dependable database is needed, which is accessible and it is required, because in this digital economy we don't need to wait on what was said by maybe just trying to go to court over every issue, just like we have in the NDDC right now, where a lot of allegations are still on as per we gave contract to several individuals, and those people are saying they were never given contract by the NDDC. So if we have a system where the internal revenue or the strategies are working with dependable database, that will not come up because everything can be easily tracked. And this is why it is required, and it helps to eliminate all sources of revenue leakages. So we really need to upgrade our revenue monitoring system in the country to see to it that whatever comes in into the government coffers, it is well monitored, the revenue leakages are minimized, and also the revenue collection system is fully digital. Everything is done on a digital base, and the tracking of underground economy for more revenue generation, and also we have it for the full diversification of the economy in all sectors. So agricultural sector, we have the different sectors, home and tourism. We have different sectors in the economy that we can work with and see to it that apart from dependence on oil, there's a full diversification of the economy. And we also have it that the digital economy is key, because when everything is digitalized, it is difficult for anybody to just go back and forth on what they think they did or what they did not do. Everything can be well traced. Everything can be well monitored. So we need you to call us now and let us talk on how we can make this a very, very core aspect of revenue generation for the Nigerian economy. And with this, we're also asking the government to work with what is inward and not looking outside for how to get more grants, foreign loans, and foreign just name it, maybe trying to get foreign companies to come in, and at the end of it all, most of this choice infrastructure are taking over. That even if the foreign companies are coming in, they are coming in to help develop what is on ground and not just to take over and start another form of neo-colonialism. All right, we have this call coming in from our guest, and is our analyst, barrister Prince Uzemi Olomuagbodo. So let's take this call right now. Hello. Hello?
Hello?
All right. You are welcome back. Sorry for the break in transmission we had. This is Dialogue Box on BlossomNigeria. Thank you so much for calling back.
Okay.
All right. So we're talking about the different aspects of revenue generation and how government can take advantage of these areas for financing infrastructure.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that the government needs to start from a change in mentality.
Okay.
That means a sort of change management needs to happen. The government needs to put itself in the realm of the government that has what we call siege mentality.
Okay.
The mentality that makes it obvious to the sufferer or to that person that it is me against the world, or is that person against the world.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is that Nigeria at the moment is too comfortable with the ease of obtaining foreign loans, the ease of obtaining foreign grants, and that comfort is what is going to actually bring the country to a place where all its means of generating internal revenue would have been either extinguished or rendered ineffective. So Nigeria needs to understand that it is them standing against the world. That means that Nigeria should be forced to look inwards. What I'm trying to say is that Nigeria needs to act or behave like a country under serious economic sanctions. Any country, let me give an example. Countries like Libya, countries like China, countries like Iran, who found themselves under serious economic sanctions, they have to adopt the siege mentality for them to be able to rise above all the sanctions. What that means is that they stopped looking outwards and automatically they started searching their country for viable means for them to raise revenue. Because at that point, it was either you raise the revenue or you die as a country, and you were not going to die. So Nigeria needs to, number one, adopt the siege mentality going forward and let go of the seeming ease at which foreign loans are being obtained. That's my number one point. Number two thing I want to say is that since it is becoming increasingly difficult for the government to actually go out and do these things as raise internally generated revenue on its own, it needs to go into public-private partnerships. What I'm trying to say is that the government needs to start working with the private sector, which is better structured at the moment, to see how the private sector will be the one to generate and raise revenue, and there will be an agreement where the government gets a certain percentage of generated revenue, and the private sector company or the private sector person gets a certain percentage. If that happens, what will happen is that automatically the approach to revenue generation will now be more or less private sector driven, which means that all the ideals, all the work ethic, all the ethos of the private sector will be brought to the table, and for the government to leverage on without assuming any of the risks that is that would be associated with that venture. So, for example, I'll give an example. The Lagos Apapa route that has been down for so many years, the government simply gave it to Dangote Industries and told the company that, if you can build this route for us, we waive so and so percentage of taxes for you for the next 10 years. So that is simply a model that can also be applied to raise IGR, to raise internally generated revenue. For government will not come and tell companies that, in this area, we actually want to raise our revenue, for example, in the area of either taxes or let's say telephone calls and data usage by the people who want to raise our profile, our revenue profile in that area. And we want to give you this contract that if in a year you are able to bring in, let's say, 10 billion, out of that 10 billion, so and so percentage will be yours as your cost of collection and all of that. So the government also needs to explore that, because the reason the government needs to explore that approach is because right now, the way the government is structured and with the personnel that are manning the current government positions, it is not going to be very feasible. It's not going to be very practical for the government to go the route of IGR alone. So they need to also leverage on the structures that or on the economies of scale that the private sector has already put in place for them to raise these things. Then two, the government needs to start.
So you need to make your voice a bit louder so that we are getting you, but the volume seems to be a bit lower.
Yes. The government also needs to start investing in private ventures that would, in the long run, bring in much needed revenue for the government. Let me also start by an example. I will go as to mention Innocent Motors. Innocent Motors has been manufacturing vehicles for some time. And they've not really, I don't know how much support they've gotten, but prima facie, I cannot see the support that is so much support that the government should have given them. The government can enter into partnership with them, with companies like that, with private ventures like that, for the government to get a percentage, a piece of every car sold.
But how will that translate to the infrastructural development?
How that translates is that the much needed funding that the government needs to build infrastructure in the nation, the government will be able to get this infrastructure not from the easy route of foreign loans and foreign grants, but from the hard way of doing it themselves. If the government, for example, focuses on Innocent Motors, number one, and says that all government agencies, all government offices must buy vehicles only from Innocent Motors. The reason the government agencies and offices need to buy vehicles only from Innocent Motors is because we have a 30% stake in Innocent Motors. You see that as more, a 30% stake in Innocent Motors, you see that as more and more of these vehicles get sold, the more the government will be able to increase its internally generated revenue. Now, this is only an example. The government can as well. There are so many facets of society where the government can, of the industry, where the government can actually invest in this manner to leave the actual management and operations to demand on the private sector end. But the government only collected 30% fees because it has invested so and so into it. So there are so many avenues that the government can use to generate the IGR need to build infrastructure for the nation. But I don't think that we should focus so much on the easy route of obtaining foreign loans. That is where we are at the moment. And the way we are going, we would generate loans at 20 years from now would have to bring down this nation.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Barrister. But before we let you go, just to ask about the issue of states that are also supposed to be generating their own revenue, and because we are operating the federal system, they are supposed to contribute to the center. But even then, within the states, a lot of them are still dependent on federal allocations before they can carry out some infrastructural development. So what do you think about that?
I wouldn't make any excuses for the states, but what I want to state, first of all, is that we are operating a constitution that it seems to be unbalanced in a lot of areas. For example, the states are so dependent on the federal government because roads and sectors that traditionally should be solely operated by the states are either being operated alone by the federal government or they are being operated by the states in conjunction with the federal government.
With the federal government.
Is that at every point in time, the states still need to bring their COP to come and beg the federal government for funds.
Yeah.
The areas that they should be getting funds from, they've been allocated to the federal government. For example, let's take taxes. Not every tax should be collected by the federal government.
By the federal government, okay.
Traditionally and by history, should be collected by the states. Like, for example, value-added tax, sales tax, and all of that. So I think, number one, if the constitution is reworked to ensure that those areas that best practices that traditionally worldwide are given to the regional government or to the state government, the states should have the constitutional empowerment to do all of that. Now, people have raised the question that the states do not have the required capacity and the manpower to operate these taxes. How do you build capacity? Capacity is built over a period of time. So even if the states are given the right to operate the states will still go into some sort of partnership
with the federal government,
where the federal government would help them to collect, let's say taxes, collect these taxes for, let's say, a period of 5 to 10 years. Then, by then, the state would be quietly building its capacity. It is happening currently at the moment, actually, with the FCT, Internal Revenue Service, FCT IRS, that was given the right to now collect basically all taxes from the FCT. That's because they did not have the capacity. They entered into partnership with the federal government for the federal tax agency to collect these taxes on their behalf for a certain number of years. So this must be replicated nationwide. So the excuse that the state does not have the capacity should not be brought to the table.
Okay.
We should first of all put in the structural framework, the required constitutional amendments that will help to empower the states over a period of time. That is what the route we should take as a nation.
All right, thank you so much. So that means we really need to do a lot of work in trying to review the constitution to get it to be more effective and to favor more of internally generated revenue for the good of the government, not just having it at the center, but the states also having a large measure of control over their resources, and also they will work out a better system. But I think we need to work with that so that we can hasten the process. Thank you so much, Barrister, for calling in. We appreciate your call. All right, thank you. All right. Okay, so that was Barrister Prince Uzemi Olomuagodo, analyst that just spoke with us on what he thinks should be the way forward. He talked about government giving incentives to different companies, like he mentioned the Dangote company that is presently in charge of the Apapa Wharf Road, in maintaining, upgrading the road, carrying out some repairs, and in exchange for that, they've been given some waivers of taxation. So for that's a very good one, and he's saying that government should carry out and give out more of such incentives to companies so that they can take up more infrastructure across the economy. Also talked about the Nnewi motor company of the Innocent motor companies. So with that, he thinks that federal government should also do much more in supporting that factory, so that with that support, more and more development can be carried out in that Nnewi axis, and more work can be done in fast tracking, maybe employment of more people and bringing more personnel on board, human capacity development, as he mentioned. So several areas where the government can work on, and like he mentioned before rounding up, that government at the state level should also do much more, even though they are not fully in charge of their resources for now. But he says he won't make excuses for any of them, that they should do much more in maximizing their resources and working towards getting the government to be more effective in carrying out infrastructural maintenance and repairs. All right, we have another call coming in. Hello, good morning.
Hello, BlossomNigeria.
Yeah, who is on the line?
My name is Chinkwe. I called yesterday and you didn't give me enough time to execute my thoughts.
All right, Chinkwe, you are welcome to Dialogue Box on BlossomNigeria. We are very excited to hear your voice.
Oh, thank you very much, madam.
All right.
Yeah, today's topic is,
Yeah?
I think it has to do with generating revenue.
Yes, we are talking internally generated revenue and how we can get the government to take advantage of the IGR to develop infrastructure.
The bottom line is that we should understand that to fund, to develop an economy,
Yeah.
is not the work of the government. To bring in development is not really the work of the government.
Alone. It's not the work of the government alone.
You see, we must understand the role of the government in developing an economy. It is basically a private sector coming into a nation or a country that develop the economy. It's not really the government.
Okay.
So what the government is to do is to provide the enabling environment
for the companies to thrive.
Private sectors to thrive.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. If the government wants to develop or to increase revenue, is to make the private sector thrive, to do well.
All right.
Do you understand? That is one of the ways of increasing your revenue.
Okay.
So my point is that first, government must look at inward. What do? Diversify into other sector apart from the oil and gas sector.
Okay.
We are looking, for example, the agriculture sector.
Yeah.
Government can put in so much into it so that agriculture becomes your means of exportation, becomes your revenue.
Yeah.
You export agriculture. You export, okay, we have rice, we have cocoa, we have granules, we have cassava, we have palm kernel, palm products, name them. Government is, create an opportunity for SMEs to grow, for companies to grow, to come into those sectors. Government basically should not be the one heading agriculture. They should give it to private sectors to come in and help them to actualize that goal. By the time government make it possible that then we earn, by the time those products are exported, we earn foreign currencies. It adds to our revenue. It promotes our revenue.
Okay.
And then the other one is SME.
Okay.
Government should try as much as possible, if possible, reduce the taxation of SMEs to the minimal.
All right.
To encourage SMEs to get loans, to increase their productivity.
Okay.
That will go a long way in making sure that these things, they thrive. And aside from that, when you are encouraging SMEs and they are doing well, make sure that you also maintain a very good policy. Okay, I'll give you an example.
All right.
Example is Michelin. I don't know if you know Michelin tire.
Yeah.
Michelin tire is a local industry that came up during I think Babangida era. They got all it takes to start up a Michelin tire and so on. And then they got government approval. And then before you know it, they went to the bank, got loans to fund the industry, to fund the company.
Okay.
The next government came in and then proscribed that and allowed tires to be imported into Nigeria. That's how Michelin died. That's how Michelin died. And it's also affecting, the recent one is this go-karda that we had, even though they did not go through they did not really investigate very well. Go-karda is like this bike rider and so on. It was approved by Ambode's administration.
In Lagos State.
Sanwo-Olu's administration, yes, in Lagos State. Sanwo-Olu's administration came and counciled it.
Okay, that means we need to work more on the
consistent.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, because there must be continuity in our policy to encourage SMEs and young businesses to grow and thrive in our nation.
All right.
The first one I said exportation. We must look at our strength to export our products. Number 2, encourage SMEs. Then number 3, attract investors.
Yeah.
To our nation. One of the things investors will look at for, number 1, is security. Insecurity. So our government needs to put more effort in assuring investors that if you come into our country to invest, your property, your investment is secure. And not only that, when you're coming in, there must be an agreement that most of the employees, 80% of your employees must be Nigerian.
Yeah.
Yes, it goes a long way to create more employment for people.
Okay, sir. Now,
like our last caller said,
yeah,
is the public-private partnership.
Okay, sir. Now, looking at the government angle where they need to take advantage of, like all these points you have raised, excellent, but the government taking advantage of them to put more effort into infrastructural development going forward in Nigeria right now. So what can be done let's call them emergency measures that government needs to put in place in getting these infrastructural projects to be developed alongside these companies that are coming in and all that we have to do.
Major infrastructural projects that the government must work out. Major. 2 of them. Number 1, power.
Okay.
Number 2, transportation, road transportation. If you have constant power, you have good roads and means of transportation, and then there's security, you will see that every other thing, you are actually giving the businesses to thrive. Those are the 3 major ones. 1, power. 2, roads or transportation. 3, security. When you provide those 3 things available, those are the structures we should look at. Because when you say government are bringing in, the other time, yesterday you spoke about collecting loan from China.
Yeah.
There's no need for the loan.
No need for those loans.
No need for the loan. Okay, let me ask you a question. Why is it that it's only China they are collecting loan from? Why don't they go to World Bank? Why don't they go to Britain? Why don't they go to America or Germany? Why is it China? Because there's kickbacks. China will give them kickbacks. I told you yesterday that our people, our government, they have interest in China because there's kickback. China will always give you things, and those monies are paid in cash.
Okay, all right.
They are paid. So when China gives you a loan of $500 million, then 10% is for the National Assembly, the government work. They know how they take that kickbacks. But Britain will never give you kickbacks. America will not give you kickbacks. Germany will not give you kickbacks. So that's why they won't go to those things to collect loans. Is it because China has more money than those countries? No. It's because of the kickbacks. So there is no need to go ahead to collect money that
from those.
You can go. While we have, like our last caller mentioned Dangote fixing the Lagos Papa, the warfare road. Yeah. He said, no, what we need, you want to build a rail station, bring in private, public, go into partnership with private sector. And what are the incentives you will give them? The policy must be signed, must be green and white.
Agreed, yes.
We must agree on the policy. Who says we don't have companies in Nigeria that can help support in making those things you want happen. This is not one man, Dangote, that is building a refinery in Lagos. So who says if you are not going to private partnership with private sector? I mean, government needs to be sincere in times of collecting loans. They know they don't want to pay this loan. They know they will not pay it. How can you, a minister, you are going to spend 3 years in office and you are collecting a loan that will span to the next 20 years? So other governments will come in, they will come and meet
inherit debt.
They know nothing about. And before you know it, those want to come and say, oh, I don't want to continue on this contract. But you are already owing.
Okay, now we have a lot to talk about here, sir, and we know that several points are, waiting for us to attend to, and we don't have enough time. So what we'll just ask you to do is that now we will just need you to give us maybe one major, as we move forward right now. You've already given us your point, but if you have any other area where you think government can quickly look at so that we can launch on from here, and maybe we'll continue with this sometime next week. So what's your point on this, sir?
Yeah, data, finally data.
Yeah.
We should also invest in data. The world is moving from
digital
hardware to software. It's moving from hardware to software, digital. So if you invest in the data, you can plan your population, you can project your outcome, you can predict. I mean, you can predict the future of where something is going. You can project your outcome. It gives you the total number of people working with you. It gives you the number of people that are taxable. It gives you the number of companies that are taxable. Everything is captured on data. So when the government invests in data management, data management. What does it mean to invest in data? It is not that government should handle it. They should subscribe that contract to a private sector who can handle data on behalf of the government.
Okay.
So they will do it effectively. And then when you have enough data, when you have data, accurate data, because record is what builds a society. History, when you go back to your records, it's what can help you to project and know what you want to achieve in the next 5 years, next 10 years.
All right.
To invest also in data.
All right. Thank you so much for calling, sir. We really appreciate your call. That was Mr. Chinkwe calling in from Ikeja. So we really appreciate that, and the very detailed analysis that he gave us. So data, government giving incentives to more companies to come on board to be part of the infrastructural development, and several other areas where government needs to look at right now. We don't have that much opportunity to be going out for loans again, and we don't even want it in a situation whereby the government is owing over, if you are to convert those monies to naira, over 33 trillion naira. That's a lot. So we want a situation whereby we can look inward, maximize what we have, internally generated revenue, and how different states, companies, public-private partnership, and different other areas government can do all what it is required to get the economy to thrive on every side. And with that, infrastructure can be given the appropriate attention. We'll just give you some thoughts here from Coco. Coco says, good morning. To generate internal revenue, the government needs to invest and develop other sectors of the economy, and such as electricity, road, agriculture, etc. This will not only generate more revenue, it says, just a second. It says this will not only generate more revenue but also attract multinational companies. I'm sure that's what it means by MNC. It says the state should also contribute to the center, not just center to the state. So instead of government using its money to fund infrastructural projects, they should invite private individuals and companies to fund such projects. Then we have SG Ben saying, good morning, Blossom Nigeria. Nigeria is rich in natural resources, so generating internal revenue shouldn't be a problem. Our leaders should He says our leaders should use their head. So these are some major comments coming in, and more comments can also come in here. So we have a lot to do, and everything that the government needs to do, attention needs to be given to these areas. Don't forget what some of our analysts said this morning. Government needs to give more attention to companies, help them, give them the enabling environment, and at the same time bring them on board in fixing some of these infrastructural projects. Invite them to be a part of it, and in exchange they can give them incentives like tax waivers and different other incentives that they can give to them. They can even give some of them maybe charge of some roads, maybe in collecting of toll fees or whatever else that they need in such roads for a period of time, just like what Lagos State did at the Lekki Ekpe axis for some other private companies to come on board. So we need more of that, and Nigeria at this time should not go out borrowing again. Rather, we should look inward and see how to make the country thrive on every side, because we know that infrastructure is not what we should just be going out to collect money to fix, and at the end of it all we still have issues with funds not being well accounted for. So we believe that when private companies come on board, private organizations come on board, and they collaborate well with the government, most of these funds are better maximized and they are well monitored. Everything goes into it, auditing everything, just name it, and you can be sure that most of those funds will carry out more than 80% of what they were meant for, compared to when it's just given to government and government award contracts. And today, you can guess, contracts are being awarded, other people are saying you didn't give us contracts, you did not. So several cases that we shouldn't be hearing of at this time. Nigeria should upgrade, Nigeria should go digital, data should be well monitored, and every form of revenue leakage should be discouraged at this time. So we'll look more into this. And don't forget that next week we still have other areas. We have commended so far the education sector, that they've started, schools are already on in different states, and some other states are waiting to come on board by next week Monday. But whatever matters, Nigeria needs to be on the upward and forward motion. So tomorrow we'll be talking presidency. Let's talk presidency, and we'll let you know who our candidates will be. More nominations are coming in, so we'll make a final choice and we'll let you know on our page, Blossom Nigeria, on Facebook, and also you can visit our website, www.BlossomNigeria. Thank you so much for staying with us. Sorry about the technical hitches, it is getting better, and very soon you'll see us on a standard stage, a standard studio where you too can be a part of it. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.